Hey, and welcome to the Izi Chinchay show.
I'm pretty sure Messi is not crying because of the pain of his ankle right now. I think there's a lot of other emotional pain that he is dealing with in this situation.
I am so pumped that you tuned in. My goal with the show is to inspire and motivate you to the best of my abilities. I believe our world needs more leaders, and I believe that you, my listener, are a leader, and that you have the opportunity to impact your community and family by simply being you. I truly am here to try and serve and offer value to your life. And if you enjoy the show, it would mean the most to me if you could please either rate, subscribe, or share the show with anyone who you think might benefit from listening. Together, we can make this world a better place. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you love today's episode.
All right, we're getting into it. We are talking soccer. We are talking why the men's U.S. national soccer team sucks. Okay, just kidding. That's not all we're talking about. We're talking lots of soccer. We're talking Euro and Copa recap. We are talking about why U.S. men's team doesn't do that great. But for those of you who do not know me, my name is Izi Chinchay. I'm a former Division I soccer player, semi-pro soccer player, and a massive fan of the sport. I'm also a coach and recruitment guide to those players who are looking to go from high school to college. So if you want help on that recruitment process, make sure to hit me up. But we are going to get straight to it. We're starting with the recap. First of all, if you did not watch people trying to climb over the wall to break in to the game for the Copa final, I really recommend you go back and watch that because that was absolutely insane. And I'm just wondering what some of these people are thinking of trying to climb this wall and break into the stadium. Like, a global treasure is playing there. Like, Messi, people worship him like to the nines. He has more Instagram followers than anyone on the planet. Like, the guy is, like, if you think security was just going to be like, yeah, you're just going to be able to get in, climb up, like, no. So shame on you, because for the rest of us who were waiting to watch the game, they just kept on getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. But it was absolutely nuts. But it kind of goes in line with how Copa was. It was like Copa was chaotic. The fouls and all the things. It was kind of a chaotic tournament, which I loved. I kind of love the chaos, but that was just like the cherry on top, and also kind of bonkers that some of these people thought they were actually. I don't know what the thought process was, but the GOAT is in there, and people literally worship him. So he was going to be. His safety was probably prioritized, like, more than anyone else. They're like, that's probably the only reason they pushed him back. They're like, no, Messi's out here. Like, the Emperor of Earth paused it and was like, no, make sure he's safe. Let's come back in. But anyways, I just thought that was crazy. The game itself was really good. Argentina, obviously, was able to, deliver on a goal. And that's the one thing I would say, like, I was not impressed by. If you go back and you watch the goal, people were acting like it was like, when I first saw the goal, I thought it was good. And then I rewatched the goal. If the goalkeeper would have come out, just got set, it would have hit him right in the chest. He wouldn't have even had to do anything because he literally shot it right at him. When I first saw it, I thought it was like to the left of the net and the side net. He was literally, if you watch the replay, the goalkeeper falls back and slips through his hands. I'm pretty sure it grazed his face. That was an ouch for the goalkeeper. But the goal is what they needed, so we'll take that. But I don't think it was that great of a goal, and I was actually kind of hoping for something a little bit more spectacular. You think about the last World Cup final, how back and forth that was. I was kind of hoping something like that, like multiple goals, overtime, more goals, like all the things. But we didn't really get that. We did get overtime. We only got one goal, so I was like, it wasn't that great. But the game itself was good, and obviously we're happy Argentina got the win. Happy for Messi. Obviously, Messi got injured. If you haven't seen any pictures of his ankle, we'll add some picture of his ankle. It was gnarly and obviously really sad. The dude came off, it's obviously highly emotional, comes off the game, and the cameras are just zooming in on this dude trying to hide his face from crying. And one of the spectators is like, oh, yeah, that's got to be painful. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Messi is not crying because of the pain of his ankle right now. I think there's a lot of other emotional pain that he is dealing with in this situation. But I'm happy for Argentina. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I actually said I thought it was going to be Argentina. I also kind of give a shout out to Brazil, but I did say Argentina, and Argentina did get the win, so we are happy for that. If you're an Argentina fan, I like blue and white, so I am an Argentina fan, and obviously I think almost everyone's a fan of Messi. Even if you don't like Messi, you're still kind of a fan of Messi because it's Messi. It's insane, right? we know that he is a global treasure, as the world says. After Copa, or actually before Copa, we had the Euro final, which is also that game was actually way more exciting for me. I felt like that game was like nail biting, so intense. I really think that could have been like a 3-0 game if England goalkeeper hadn't done what he would have done. And I say 3-0 because the goal that England got, if you go back and you'll watch goalkeeper collects. It was a simple save. He did a good job with the details. I'm big on that. Like, if you can't handle the simple things well, then you're not gonna you're not even worth bringing in for the big stuff. So he made a great save on something very simple, sprinted to the top of the box, got the ball out quick. He played with such urgency that they were able to get the equalizer, and I think that was absolutely game changing for England. And if they had it, I think it literally could have been like a 3-0 game. And honestly, we're happy for Spain. Henry Kane I really like, so I was like, sorry, bro, when he subbed off. That's unfortunate, but, you win some, you lose some. So those two finals were pretty epic, but there's been this conversation, this rumoring of like, what is the deal with the U.S. men's soccer team? Why can they not get their shit together? Why are we not delivering? And there are like multiple reasons for this. And I'm going to switch it really quick though. Like, I'm going to switch it and be like, so football, this kind of football with your hands kind of football is huge in the US. It's huge, right? And we're trying to get it, I guess they're trying to get it to start up in other countries. Well, if those countries aren't doing that great and there's not that many in a couple years, it's going to be no surprise, right? Because it's just not around long enough. And that's going to bleed out for years and years and years and years and years. And that's kind of exactly what's happened in the US. Like, we don't have the history that these other countries have. We don't have enough rivalries. We don't have, there's not enough, it's not like, when Miami plays Nashville, it's not like, there's not enough rivalries, and we honestly need more time to develop more fan base so there can be more rivalries. And I think we have more rivalries, we have more people that care. That's going to help, because then it's going to help it all trickles down. But because there's not enough, then it's like there's not enough youth development. And you look at like players even years ago, like Landon Donovan. He was in Texas, and he literally had to commute like 3 hours a day as a kid to play for a club because there just weren't enough resources. And if people aren't bought in enough, there aren't enough resources, then of course it's not going to expand the way that it needs to. And another reason for this is because if you watch like basketball, football, and like those games are heavily commercialized. Basketball, I think it's easy just because it's smaller and stuff, and there's quarters and everything, but same as football. They get to stop, they get to send a break, right? But and then they televise, and all of these commercials get to run and run. So it's very big on TV. All TVs want to be, or TV stations are going to promote those games, because then they can have more TV, more ad time, which is more money and all these things. Soccer, one of the reasons that soccer is so freaking epic is because the first half is 45 minutes of pure grinding it out, running, sprinting, diving, all the things, no rest. But guess what happens those 45 minutes? No ad time. No ad time. That is new to our sports culture. Right? In other countries, this has been going on for years and years and years, so that's very standard. They know how to do it. But here in the US, we're like, well, football, all these other sports where we can just be running ads all the time, yeah, it makes more sense to pour into those. Like I said, it's a time thing. We just don't have the same base that these other countries have. And then, because we don't have that, we don't have as good as scouts, college programs, all the things. Now, I would say we're turning the corner, but it becomes way more evident when we look at like the big stage and we're like, okay, US, we didn't just we didn't qualify for the World Cup. Like, like, what's the deal, right? But we look at it over time, we're like, oh, wow, yeah, we are super behind, quote unquote, and we just don't have enough buy-in. And because, like, in the long run, we get that aerial view, we can really see it. When you're up close, you're like, what do you mean? There's all that, da, 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 da. But it's really a combination of a lot of reasons that soccer just doesn't have the same stick in the U.S. as like football or basketball or baseball, all these other sports that are just more deeply embedded in the culture. Now, the women's side is different. The women slay. So shout out to the women. The women U.S. team absolutely demolishes. If you're not a fan, become a fan. Be a supporter. I'm a big supporter. These girls are absolutely insane. But one of the reasons that the U.S. actually does really well, and then we look at some of these other countries who really, really struggle on the women's side, is because, women's rights and a bit like in other countries, like they're not even allowed to play soccer. Like women can't even do that. So it's crazy. So they don't have the resources. But I remember like World Cup was that for women's however many years ago, I forget. We're just going through the analytics and looking at these women opponents, and some of the opponents, the women that are playing at the top level for their country, are still working full-time jobs to be able to support that. So that shows how little support and funding. I'm not saying that to take away what like the women's on the U.S. side has done, but it just kind of makes it more clear like where the gaps are, right? And where, and like you look at pay versus some. When Beckham joined the MLS, like it was kind of a joke. Like their fields, like they didn't even have anything. And Beckham, like, and now Beckham owns Miami. Like it's crazy, but we don't have the history. We don't have the money. We don't have enough development, and it trickles all down to the youth, right? And when we have development, we have buy-in from parents, from coaches, from club directors, from recruiters, then a lot more time, energy, and effort gets poured into these youth programs. But youth programs for soccer, especially I live in Tennessee, even opposed to California, it's like the gap is there for sure. And especially you look at like ODP in different places, it's not impressive. It's like anyone can kind of get into it, which isn't a bad thing, but it just shows that there isn't enough stepping stones to have developed it in the way. So next time you want to sit there and hate on the U.S., just be a supporter of soccer. Be a supporter of the U.S. soccer team, men's soccer team. Be a fan. Become a fan. Pick a team, right? Get really like if you watch some of like the Europe games and you watch like streets literally flooded with whatever color that team is in that area that's playing, like that is a fan base. So you want to support soccer in the U.S., become a fan. Become an absolute fan, buy into the rivalries, hate the other team, but like lock in, get the jerseys. Like that's how we're going to be able to do it, because little kids, and they see that and they're like, oh my gosh, that's who I want to be. I want to be that one. Like my little kids, some of the little kids that I train, like they know it. Like especially in Tennessee, like their favorite, they love Hani Mukhtar. Like that's their fave, and that's because we've created a good fan base. So it's starting to trickle down, and so then we can slowly kind of like build back up into a stronger chemistry for the sport. So as we continue, we also got to remember like Major League Soccer, I think, was like established in the U.S. in like 1993. That's not that long ago. That's really not that long ago. You think about like how long it's been around other places, like for Major League, we don't even compare. Okay, so U.S. is gonna get there if we start doing all the groundwork. We have more fans. If we have more fans and more people watching too, then TV are going to show up more, because they're going to realize, people are watching this. We get a big break on the half to run ads and everything like that. So it'll all kind of even out, and we're going to hope that the men's can pick it up and start looking a little bit more like the women's side on the soccer scene for the U.S. National teams. But thank you so much for coming along with me today. This was a quick recap of the Copa, of the Euros, and why the U.S. national soccer team sucks. We need more support. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could share this episode with 5 people you think could benefit from the show. Also, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Izi Chinchay or my website at izichinchay.com. Thank you so much for being you. Keep being a leader and making this world a better place.